Hi, today I'll be showing you how to put together the chick magnet car, which is an egg-shaped car. To start, I like to do my piecing, most of my piecing to start with. I did add a little a chalk edge around this chick magnet plate, and you could print this out. This is a printable. You could change the colors, or you don't want to cut out the chick magnet, it's just too small. But you could do anything. You could write there's a blank plate too that you could utilize to type any message on that license plate. Just kind of fun. So I'm just going to piece together the plate first. So I'm piecing all this and putting it aside. Then I just went around the edge on the chick pieces to give it a little bit of accent on the edge. It kind of frames it out with a soft edge. I'm using a little bit of a darker yellow, so it's not really noticeable, but it does once it's finished, it kind of gives it a little border around it. You could also print and cut. You wouldn't have to necessarily piece this together. For the print and cut, I have a layered piece that you could utilize that has it all attached, so you can print just the body and the arm. And the reason you have to do them separately is because of the way we attach the arm, and I'll show you that once we piece together this one. So if you never use chalk, I like it. Some people don't like it because it's not as permanent, but I can erase it and be a little bit more haphazard than I normally can. So now that it's edged, I'm going to add the facial piece. And the reason I did this separately, so you can really tell, you can see the edge of the head. Gives it that dimension. You could pop up the head too with foam tape or pop dots. And then the body goes on top of that, and again, that's just for dimension. So if you didn't want to include it, you wouldn't have to. Then I use my Pick Me Up tool from Silhouette, and I'm just picking up the middle of the eyeglasses. I put a clear transparency with glitter glue underneath it, which was something new. I was just trying around to see if I could get that little glittery feel. Since it is glue, I just use that as my glue rather than glitter glued the top of the clear. It came out. It was kind of fun. I've never done that before. But you can put a solid color or nothing, just keep them black. So as you can see, it gave it kind of a fun little look. So just waiting for those to dry a little bit. And then we're going to put together the beak portion. So there's two pieces. There's this one big piece, which I was having a problem adding the glue. So I was intending to use the Pick Me Up tool, which I'm going to use it to place it. Now it is intended to have a little black on the top, just for a little bit of a dimension-ish, but it does match up on the bottom. So that's how that piece matches up on the bottom. And then we add the top portion of the beak. We will in a minute. I'm just showing you how the face goes together. We'll add the top portion of the beak. And again, that's just layered for dimension, so you can kind of see the edge of the top of the beak. And don't line it up with the black piece. Line it up with the top of the orange piece. That's my dog barking in the background. And then we'll add the sunglasses to the face. When you place it there, each edge of the glasses should match up with the edge of the head best you can. And then you can just glue on the beak piece. The middle of one of my eyeglasses moved a little bit because it wasn't completely dry. It takes a while for stickles to dry. So to finish off the chick, we're just going to glue at the top of the piece. We want to do it at the top of the wing, so the wing will lift up and it can just slide on the edge of the car. So just, you see it lines up with the edge of the head, and then you'll just pull it up to flip it down. So now that we've got the chick piece together, we're going to piece together the tires. So these are just the panels that go on the tires, and there's another portion I'll show you shortly, but it's easier to have these all ready to go. So with the tire middles, it'd be fun. I did one where I embossed the middle panels. Typically, most people, I wanted to do blue tires instead of black. But that's up to you. You could do the middle different color, but you could have a lot of fun. You could do a little pattern paper in the middle. And then we'll put that little black piece to finish off the middle of the tire. And I also think it's really cute to put like enamel dots or rhinestones in the middle on top of that black piece, or instead of it. It just gives a fun look. So you can do whatever. You just use your imagination on the tires. I mean, this is just gives you an idea of what the tires should look like. But I think a little bit more dimension is always more fun. So I'm having trouble with my pick-me-up tool today. So instead of adding the glue to the actual middle, I put glue on the middle of the panel and then picked it up that way. It does really help to get small pieces. So I do like to use it when I have really small pieces I'm working with. But I'm one of those people that don't like to drop things, so I tend to hold things. It looks uncomfortable, but it's just my personality. That's it. Those are done. So we're going to go on to putting together the wheel or tire axles that will go underneath the vehicle that will hold the tires. So you'll see these the score lines in these pieces. So you're going to want to gently fold each piece on the score line. It is a little bit difficult, and it's separated by every tab. There is a score line. So you just have to carefully fold it well. I have a really thick cardstock I'm using, so if you used a thinner cardstock, might not be as hard, but we kind of want it to be a little bit heavier because it's got to hold up the wheels and the car itself. So you can see it kind of forms it's a 5-sided. It's not completely circular because we needed this flat edge that we're going to add glue to be able to attach the axle later. So you add glue to that last larger side, then fold over the tab of the same size, and you want to make sure that edge lines up with the tab fold, and then apply pressure. Rub it along the whole length to apply pressure, and then I also press it against the table lightly. It is hollow, so it can collapse, so you don't want to really push too hard. But you just want to give that pressure to be able to make sure it's glued. So here's a second one. So one is shorter than the other. One for the back of the car and one for the front. So again, this takes a little bit of concentration, making sure that you get it scored properly on the dashed or scored lines. But once you get them all scored again, let's see, I was having difficulty there, but you just have to be patient. I'm not as patient sometimes when I'm doing the videos because I'm trying to show you, trying to be as quick as possible, but know that this is not something you want to do fast if you're having difficulty. Then go ahead again with the first one. You're going to glue the largest flat piece, which is the end pieces. And then you're going to fold over that final tab. Again, applying pressure. So rub it first to get it set, and then place it against the table to apply additional pressure. And make sure that a glue bottle is not attacking you like it's attacking me. And then once those are done, we'll add the little panels to attach the tire panels that we just pieced together. So you'll see that it's flat on the top. That's the piece we're going to focus on. We're going to turn it around. That's the place where we just glued. And a tip, if you're using textured cardstock, try to put the texture on the inside. I mean, what I mean that is towards the axle, because it'll be easier to glue the tabs to a non-textured surface inside, and you don't see this part. So you're going to slide those in, making sure it's aligned exactly like the shape of the axle. And then the largest tab, I did it wrong, so I switched it around because I wanted to make sure that I have the textured, non-textured side on the inside, which is hard to see because it's black. So we're going to add glue to that largest tab. You're going to hold it and glue it to the inside of that tire. That's how we're going to attach these tire pieces. So I didn't attach it fully yet, so I'm going to show you again. You slide it on with that flat piece, matching so it's shaped, goes on exactly how it's shaped. And then that top largest tab, you're going to fold back and attach it to the inside of that little tire piece with the cutout. So now we'll attach the rest of them. So go ahead and add glue to all the other little tabs, and then you'll fold them down. I did 2 at a time and held them for a couple seconds, and then the other 2, and you kind of, your fingers can get over basically 2 per finger, thumb in at least. And then that's what it looks like when it's completed. So again, repetition, we're going to fold back these tabs. The nice part is once you get all these set and it's a little bit crooked, you can, because it's paper, it'll bend a little bit to straighten out. And that's one set. So we'll do the same for the other set of tires. So I pull these tabs back a little bit. I pull them in and then pull them out because we're going to pull them back to glue them on. It helps to loosen up the folds, so it folds back easier. So I jumped ahead, and there's the second. So it's the same way we did the other one. And then once we're done, you go ahead and add these panels that we just created minutes ago. Then I do apply pressure by holding it. Once I get it pieced and set in that area, you can flip it over and apply more pressure. And just continue to add all 4 of those pieces to the tire and axle piece. And then later, if you want to add some dimension, like a little rhinestone in the middle or additional things to the tire, you can do that after you have it together. You don't want to do much until you get it together, I think. Just be easier later. When I put them on here, I kind of I had a little piece there that I didn't cut all the way. I kind of put my fingers around to make sure that it matches the edge. And I put a little bit too much glue on this one, but be careful with your glue because it did curl my tires just a smidgen. So be a little bit softer touch on the glue than I was. And this will finish it up. So go ahead and put those aside once they're done, and we'll put them on in a later step. So right now we're going to put together the car. You see it's a little curled. We want to make sure that we curve the pieces kind of by burnishing with your fingers. You can see how I'm curving it by just rubbing it. And then we'll fold in the tabs. And take note of how your sides are arranged. Make sure they're arranged left to right as you see in the picture in the PDF file, just to make sure you put them on correctly. I actually started this video and I didn't pay attention, and I put it on wrong to start with. So we're going to start with the left piece. You see there's two egg shapes, one smaller than the other. Put aside the smaller one, and you'll see the larger one has a little cut line in it on the top and in the bottoms. So that's the one we want to use to assemble the egg car. So you can see how the tabs are arranged, so you can tell that those tabs are uniform on the left, and you can tell that the smallest piece is on the top. So we'll always go from small to large. So we're going to add the first two tabs, glue to the first two tabs, I should say. And then you're going to align that edge with that cut line best you can. Okay, and you're going to align the edge of the egg also with the tab folds. And then apply pressure. Now we're just anchoring that side piece. So those little cut lines are just to help you guide where you're going to start and where it should end. And always make sure that side, if you're starting from top to bottom, that the smaller side's the top and the bottom. And you'll see how it kind of is going to wrap around here. Now the way I'm doing it is I'm gluing it on the bottom because I found this is easier than doing it piece by piece with this round edge. And then we will have that other panel to put on the bottom to hide all these tabs. So for me, I'm adding glue to about 5 tabs. But if you feel that you want to start with 3 or 2, do so. Do as many as you feel comfortable with. And then I just kind of fold them underneath. And you can see I kind of slide them underneath. So, and make sure that we're kind of wrapping it around the edge of that egg panel as you go. And then apply pressure with your fingers against the table. Just make sure they're flush with, that edge is flush with the tab fold as you're doing it. It's all repetition, so once you do it a little bit, it'll get to come to you. So again, the next 3 to 5 tabs, as much as you're comfortable with, slide them under. Again, making sure that that edge panel matches with the tab fold of all those tabs underneath, and then apply pressure. I mean, take your time. There's no need to rush this. If you're not used to doing this kind of activity, you want to take it slow at first. And you want to make sure that I'm using a fast drying glue. You want to make sure it's dry before you go on to the next step. So again, just finishing up that one side, and you see it kind of curves over, and that's why we pre-curled it to help us with this. And then I have 2 more. So that last one I only did 3 at a time. I could do all of them, but when it comes to the end, I'm always a little bit more careful because I'm more likely not to, as it's curling more. It's sometimes hard for me to push around that last corner to get the tab folds flush with that egg edge. This is not the easiest shape to work with, but it is fun once it comes together. And you can see it kind of pulls it up a little bit. Don't worry too much about that. See how I'm kind of pushing down? It will come together. So we're going to do the same on the other side. And you can see I'm showing you with these tabs. So that top tab that kind of goes down inwards, you can see the tabs on the outside are always the same shape, and the tabs on the inside are just slightly different. So it also gives you a visual indicator that you have it situated properly. So again, we're doing the same thing as we did the left hand side. We're aligning that edge with that cut to start where that cut is in the egg, the top of the egg. Then we'll continue to attach the right hand side similar to the left hand side. Okay, we're just finishing up the right hand side. Getting those last couple tabs underneath. Sometimes it just takes a couple extra moments, and then I'll just rub around the edges to make sure everything's secured. And you can see all the tabs on the bottom. And this is a panel we'll put on later once we have all the tabs attached to the bottom to make it look a little prettier on the bottom. And you can see it's coming along. So we're going to add yet another side. And you can see that this is the left hand top side. So we're going to add glue to the first two tabs, or you could do it for the first tab too. Just make sure that you have that top edge aligned, and also the side edge is aligned with that tab fold. You can kind of feel it with your fingers as you can see it, just to make sure it's aligned and not overlap too much. So we're just going to situate it. Make sure you get in a comfortable position. A lot of times it just takes getting used to the project you're working with, of what angle is going to work best for you. So here it's working well because I can reach in with my left fingers underneath, and also make sure I'm getting the excess glue off because I'm a heavy gluer. I want to make sure that that edge is aligned with that fold. Tab by tab we attach it. And at times I do flip it over just to get it in a better angle for myself. So just make sure, you don't have to do it one way. Just get it to a place where it works for you. And then continue to glue the next 3 to 5 tabs. And no, this is faster than I went. I do speed it up a little bit. So if you need to pause the video, do so at any time. But we do continue doing the same step. And this is with any really curved 3D design. It's really taking your time and making sure that each side matches up with each other. And be careful also with too much heavy gluing. I tend to, for some reason for this project, I was a little heavy-handed I got better with time, but some days are better than others for me. I'll never say I'm an expert at doing this, but I do have fun. And again, we're just going to continue getting that side on the same way. And if you do, just try to keep a glue around the away from the edges. If there's a little glue on the actual middle for some reason, I wouldn't worry too much about it because that'll be covered by the panels. And you can see it's coming together. So we only have one more side to put on. We'll have to attach it in 2 places. I find it better for this particular design if you attach this on the left first. So start with that middle. The reason we want to start with the middle edge piece is so you can align it so the opening's aligned, so that edge is aligned. And again, just continue doing what we've been doing, tab by tab. These are easier because you can reach in easier, I think, at least for me. And the reason I put these sides in the order I do is because of the reach. We don't want to go from, you could go from right to left or left to right, it doesn't really matter. But if we did right to left, at one point you wouldn't be able to reach in to do that bottom side. So we kind of have to do the bottom sides first and then kind of build up from there. Because of the shape, it's hard to get your hands in there. And so again, on the other side here, we want to start with the inside tab rather than the end tab to make sure that those edges match up. And then I'm just holding it a little bit longer to make sure it's drying. So when I'm gluing the other ones, I'm actually holding the tab. I just glued just to give it a little bit more pressure. And then carefully continue gluing that. Again, making sure that that edge is aligned with the tab fold. We don't want to see too many gaps from the tabs either, so trying to get it as close as possible. And with any design like this, this last attachment piece, this last piece is always hard to do because you have to close it up. So again, be really patient. I'm doing about 4 tabs here. Well, I did 5, but now you just have to get it into, you're going to see me kind of move it around a little bit because I'm trying to get into position where I feel I can get pressure from within, get my fingers in. So I could have edited this out, but I want you to see that sometimes it just takes a second to figure out how it's going to work for you. If you want to do it before you add glue, that's even better to find out how you're going to be able to reach in. And then I went to the last tab first and then kind of went backwards. We're going to continue just gluing on those side tabs, that final edge. And as you do get to the middle, it'll get easier to attach the tabs so you can reach in easily. This is my fine line glue applicator. And just continue to, that comes in handy to add glue to tabs in tight situations. So there's a link below for that if you're interested. I use it with Scotch glue. Then you just continue to glue around the edges. Taking your time, just be patient with yourself. The key at this last part is just to be patient and not to rush it. So just continue until you get to the last tab. And as you get to the end of this, I do situate, you have to get it in the right angle. And, you know, if you're having difficulty getting your hand in one way, flip it around and try it a different way. Because as it does get to the end, it gets smaller and smaller. You don't have a big enough area to really get your hand in easily. But this is the reason why I put it together in the order that I do, is so that you have that last large opening to reach in. But as you get to the end, you'll have to maneuver it around regardless, just depending on how you hold things, whether you're left or right-handed. Here I'm just holding that last tab I glued to pull it apart so I could add glue to the tabs. And that's where that last actual opening at the end come in handy, and that's why I have those open, is so you can reach in easily with your fingers to apply pressure in those last tabs as you get to the end. If it were closed, it would be a little bit more difficult to, if it were just a pointy edge like and not a flat edge, it would be harder for you to get your fingers in there to apply pressure. So there it is. There's the shape of the car. And now we want to add the ends. So like I said, we have those openings, and I made it that way because of the shape of the car and how it was to assemble. We're going to glue those to the bottom of the front and back of the car. So you see those pointy tabs, you want to glue those to the bottom. So we're going to, for the smaller piece, we want to match up that fold edge and center it in that opening and apply pressure. Once you get it pseudo set up, you can reach in to apply pressure like that from within or the front. And we'll do the same on the back. Now some people might say, well, why didn't you glue it to the inside? Well, I did try to glue it to the inside. It's not really easy getting enough pressure because of the curve. So this was my solution. And also it creates a flat piece on the front and back for the, I have one headlight on the front and a license plate and bumper on the back. So it actually works out. Here on the back, I'm just having some difficulty getting this on. I was just a little impatient, and so it pulled apart. Sometimes that happens with the glue I use and the AC cardstock, the texture, if I'm not patient with myself. 99% of the time when I have issues, it's because of me and nobody else but me, or nothing else than me. Then these, once you have it attached on the bottom, and I'm letting it dry, that's why I did the front first. Then we'll fold those over and center those into their sections and make sure they're centered. It looks, right now it doesn't look so great, like it looks like you're going to see it, but you're not going to see it that much. You only see a really small portion of it because the panels were going to overlap. The biggest thing here is to make sure that you apply enough pressure against these, inside and outside, to make sure that they adhere. It takes longer than the normal tabs because of the shape of the box. So don't skimp on time for those. So we'll do the same on the back. You could have done them one at a time too. I just did it the way I did it so the tabs could dry a little bit on the bottom so that it was nice and secure before I folded it over. And again, fold it over, make sure those rectangular tabs, and I did make them rectangular so they were larger to help hold it on, because they will fly off because of the size of them. I mean the shape of the box. But if I made them a little bit smaller at the top, they may not adhere as well. So I made them go inward a little bit so you couldn't see them when you put the panel on. So there it is. So we're all ready to put the panels on. Make sure again they're in order of application, and putting the small side on the small side of the egg and the large side on the large side of the egg. So I just add glue to this panel. I'm just getting a bigger bottle of glue again. Be careful how heavy-handed you are when you're using pattern paper. This was a thicker one, so I went a little bit heavier. It actually is more of a cardstock, just a printed cardstock. So go ahead and start on one side. You want to hold it down and carefully guide it so you still have an edge, because there's a slight edge that'll be around it. You'll be able to see the color of the car still. You want to get it to the other side, and then once you're holding both sides down, apply pressure. And you want to rub the sides until the panel is secure, and make sure you do that well enough until it's down. Anything with the curve takes time. So here's the next piece. We just want to make sure, I want to show you that you still want to make sure that it's kind of centered. You don't want it completely to the end. There's that slight edge around it, so you can see the color of the car still. Gives a nice contrast. Then make sure you use your fingers to rub from inside and outside to apply those panels to make sure they don't flip up. So I already applied the third panel off camera, and then that last one again, just for repetition so you can see how I'm doing it. Again, just kind of wrapping it around, making sure there's that edge still showing. I did have one piece flip up on me, and I did have to re-glue an edge, so that's why it's important that you just take the time to get it on right the first time. That's it, it's coming together. So now we're going to add that panel to the back. So I added glue to that panel, and it's a little bit smaller. You'll still be able to see the edges of the tab, but it really cleans up that bottom piece. So when you have it upside down, just kind of rub on it a little bit just to get it set, and then you can get your hand in there and apply pressure from within. You could try to do it upside down, but you really can't get as much pressure as well as flipping it over and doing this. And then it looks much better with the panel on. If somebody's going to flip it over. If you don't care, then don't worry about it, but it cleans it up, and if you're going to go to all this trouble, might as well add that additional panel. So here I'm just straightening out these axles. So you want the longer axle on the back. So it's going to attach with that flat piece. That long flat piece. And you'll want the shorter in front and the longer in the back. So once I get them set, I'm kind of dry fitting them so you can see where they potentially will be. I did add a little bit too much glue to my tires, so they were rippling a bit. So once you have them kind of in the place you want, I would flip them over, make sure they're where you want them. I was just straightening out my tires a little bit. So we're adding that front piece first. Just add glue in the middle, not too much, because you don't want it on the edge because you'll be able to see it. We're going to move it down. You can see it kind of goes to until you hit the edge of the egg with the tires. The front's easier than the back. The back you kind of have to decide where you're going to put it. The front will stop. And I'm kind of holding it to adjust to where I want it. And you can see whether it's straight or not. And you want to just lightly rub it. Remember, it's hollow, so you just want to get some pressure against it. And I was reaching in to apply pressure from within too. Make sure it's good and set before you do the second set of tires. So I could flip it over. Decide where you want the tires. So I said, oh, that looks good. I didn't want to limit. You can put them as far front, back as you want. I just want to kind of give you a guide. And just try to make them as aligned with the first set of tires as possible. Again, don't glue all the way to the edge, else you will see it from above. Kind of adjust before that glue sets, and apply pressure lightly without squishing the axles. So it did look like I'm applying a pressure, but I was applying pressure along it. And then you can flip it over, and that's it. And the only reason the tires look a little ripply is because I put too much glue on the panels. So now we're going to get some other pieces set up. So that's the windshield and the bumper. The license plate we pieced together earlier. You see the bumper's kind of curved. I just curled it with my fingers. To get it prepped, I'm going to add some pop-up dots to the bumper to attach, and that's what I used. You can't see it on the back, but I used pop-up dots, or a portion of the extra pop-up dots. That's the part where you pop out the dots and it's left over. I just don't like to waste it. And then we're going to attach that too, so it's raised a little bit. You can see it from the top, but from the side you won't be able to see the pop-up dots. Or the pop-up material, whatever you want to call it. So and then I'm going to attach the back lights, and you could do rhinestones instead of these. I just thought it would be fun to have egg-shaped lights. I was trying to use the pick-up stick, but on that round surface pick-me-up stick, pick-me-up tool, pick-up sticks is a game. Anyways, I was trying to use that, but for some reason on the curved area it wasn't placing quite right, so use my fingers. I'm going to glue on that little front back light piece, so this is the darker part of the light. On another egg I used a rhinestone on top of that for the tire. I kind of went out of view here. I apologize. Kind of center that. It's a different shape, but the round piece is supposed to hide that the pointy polygonal look. And then there's a little round or sort of ellipse for the light, or you can add something more dimensional. And here we want to fold back the pieces for the windshield, and you can fold them back the other way to put them back on. So we're going to fold it the way that the score is, and then fold them back forward, and then glue them under the edge. Each tab edge will fit right underneath the one side of the front, and just hold it underneath there to glue it on, and carefully bend it back to get the other tab underneath. Now the windshield will naturally kind of flip up. I had a thick cardstock that I used on this, so it wasn't as pliable, but you should be able to bend it back a little bit to where you want. You can do it backwards, more angle, or more upward. It's up to you. So you can see it's bending backwards now. So here I'm kind of bending apart the chick so I can slide it on and glue it. You don't have to glue it on, you could just slide it on. It will slide on, but I'm going to glue it to the edge here. So I just added a couple dots of glue underneath to the bottom piece and slid over that arm, and then held it until it was secured. And that's if you want it attached. You don't have to even add the chick if you don't want It's cute without the chick. It's just a fun little thing. Some kids might like it. Then I just add some additional stickles to bling up those backlights. And the same on the front light, just to give it look like a light. Again, it would be more fun, I think, not more fun, but a different look if you had a dimensional rhinestone on the front. And there it is. Don't recommend moving it a lot after you put stickles on, but I tend to touch it, which I did on the back light. Right there. I was just evening it out. That's it. That's a complete chick magnet car. I hope you enjoyed this project, and it was fun for me to make. And thank you for watching.